welcome to another episode of Square Table Conversations. And today we're going to talk about what should be the ideal working hours for an employee.
I think from the past few days we see a lot of debate about the ideal working hours. A lot of high-profile people and CEOs are suggesting what should be the ideal working hours for employees. And today I think we will be discussing about what we think about the working hours.
If we talk about the employees that join just after graduation or maybe after doing an MBA, I think their perspective towards the organization, at least when they begin working, will be that they are an employee in the organization. Not everyone will have that entrepreneurial mindset, or not everyone will be like, okay, I will be an entrepreneur in this organization and I'll maybe scale it up, and maybe with my efforts the organization should come up or something like that. Not everyone will have that in their mind. So I think there should be a fixed number of hours in which those employees must be made to work, or something like 8 hours a day or 7 hours a day or something like that will be ideal, is what I think.
I think, like you said, if someone has a stake in the company, they're a shareholder, or if they have more variable pay, like the senior management will have something like that, it makes sense for them to put in those extra hours. But an employee will be getting a fixed amount no matter how much they work.
The number of hours
they
put
work.
in place.
So, and moreover, the quality is more important than the quantity. They might work for more hours, but if the quality of work is not good, then obviously that's of no use. So, at least for employees, it's unrealistic to expect them to put in a lot of time into the work. But again, it depends on the role that they are in.
Yeah.
You spoke about the quality of work. I completely agree with that point, because we here, let's talk about India and the employees here. We're not concentrating on the quality of the work because we're just trying to match the number of hours to stay. So now what happens in that case is, we as employees, we just try to match the number of hours. We don't really think about the quality of the work that we have put in, right? Now, to improve the quality of the work, because at the end result has to be the quality work. It doesn't matter how many employees worked on a particular project to make it like the best project, correct? So now your higher ups have to work more number of hours to match the quality that they need, or the standard that they match. So basically there was no point of the lower level employees putting in so many hours of work if the work that they've put in is not the the higher standard of work, or the final let's say the final output.
Yeah.
So there is no point. Like in the hierarchy, every single person is working towards one goal, right? If you put in the proper work that is needed and your job is done, the other person doesn't have to micromanagement. There is no necessity of micromanagement there, and they don't have to correct your work. Correction of the work is only taking up the overtime came in because of that. You're not meeting up your, the numbers are not met. Whatever the reasons was because of this. So I believe the quality of the work should be checked over just the quantity or the amount of time that is put into a work.
Yeah.
That's one point.
Yeah, so you spoke about how it works in India and generally the number of hours that people work here. So if you just look at abroad how the labor laws work, they have a restriction on this is the amount of work, the number of hours that per week that an employee should work, and it's very strict, and they cannot make a person work for more than that.
It's mandated by
It
the
is
government.
mandated, yes, and it's illegal for someone to make a person work for more than that. But if you look at India, we don't have such strict laws, and I don't even think it can be implemented to such a big level, because there are so many companies that are not very registered, small ones. People,
You can't keep track of
you
companies.
cannot keep track of every small thing that is happening. So that is a major issue that we have.
I think for wages they do such stuff. In India also.
Yes, labor laws are good, like the wage workers, for the wage
for
workers.
wage workers it's there. For someone who is a salaried employee, the no- it I don't even think the number of hours they should work is even something we should debate about, because it's about the quality of work. They are not wage workers.
Yeah.
For us to calculate how they work for these many hours.
Yeah, so the hour concept shouldn't even be
Yeah,
there,
the hour
because
concept
you're not being paid by the hour.
Yeah,
Yes.
they are white collar
Jobs.
White collar jobs,
jobs.
yes.
They work in white collar jobs, and it's important they complete their tasks, they provide the quality of work. And just randomly saying how someone should work for 70 hours or 90 hours a week, it doesn't make sense. If if they're being paid by hourly, yeah, it makes sense. But when they're doing a job that,
Project based.
yeah, it's project based, and it should just be about how well they complete the task.
Yeah, I think this hourly based working hours is there in the foreign countries where, any work, be it white, blue collar, anybody, just go by the working hours. So that's where people have put in the work, and they've made sure that whatever work they've done is up to the mark, because they are paid hourly. And even as a company, you wouldn't want to pay people for 70 hours when the work is only for 10 hours. That's when people will actually start making sense. So if you want the hourly working hours to be in place, I think the first thing that the company should talk about is give how much you are going to pay per hour. Do it working per hour, and then let's see if you want to keep it 90 hours or 100 hours a week. Anybody is going to be okay with it.
Yeah, and another thing is overtime. So like you said, even for wage workers, they have this concept of overtime. These physical labor
Yes.
and those kind of jobs, they have overtime pay. But if you look at salaried employees or white collar jobs, they don't have a separate thing called overtime, because they're just expected to complete that work in how much of time they can. And especially with the whole concept of work from home and everything, people are just expected to log in and start working at any time. And there's no limit that they have to work for 8 hours and then they're done. There's no such thing. It's taken for granted that you're anyway at home, you have access to it, you should just complete whatever work is given to you. So there's no concept of overtime, or it's kind of like employees are taken for granted.
There are no set boundaries. What used to happen before COVID was, if someone takes leave, then it is considered that they have taken leave, and maybe they used to not call them, I guess. But now, after work from home and everything became very popular, managers call people even if they take leave, or even if they are sick. Or there is an example in a video I watched on YouTube. A woman had taken leave because she had a miscarriage, and her boss texted her saying that return only if you are willing to work for 14 hours. So those things have become really common because there are no boundaries now. Anyone can contact you even on Sundays, maybe holidays, or even if you're on
Even if you're on leave,
Yeah.
people don't really consider it as leave.
Yeah, they'll be like, okay, maybe if someone takes leave to look after their parents or something, if their parents are sick, they'll be like, okay, you can maybe log in for 1 or 2 hours from your home because you're at home. Those things have become really common now. The breach of that time taken off.
Actually, now that, like, whatever she said, it's usually, before it was 9 to 5, you used to go to office, you'll be available during that time. Now that they're at home, you have to be available for all
The
number
number
of
of hours.
hours.
You're
Because people-
expected to accommodate whatever comes in.
no matter what, even if it's past your work time or before your work time, you should be available.
Yeah.
So that is what is expected for us. Since we don't have a lot of responsibilities, so I feel it's easier. But if you see a working woman, like someone who has a family to manage, plus they have to work, it's pretty difficult for them. So that's another thing that I feel.
And in general, if you just look at like abroad, since I was talking about before, so if you look, so Denmark is one of the happiest countries, and that is associated with the number of hours that the people work. So their work week, their ideal work week is 38 hours, and that is mandated by the government. and in some way I think it is associated with people being much happier because they know that they have to work only for this many hours, and apart from that they have time for themselves, they have time for their families, they can do whatever they want. So I think it boosts their productivity as well as it's good for their mental health as well, and I think that is how it makes them more happier than the rest of the world, and that's why we have this country. So,
That, yeah, I mean, I don't know if in India government can take any action because we're still considered a developing country where if we are not ready to work the extra hours, there'll be someone who is ready to work.
Yeah.
Because there is a need for one or the other person. They would need that money, and since we're a developing country, anyone would be ready to.
But that's the problem with the countries outside. Like I think we also talked about how abroad the same like the parent companies don't make their employees
Yeah.
or their nationals work for so many hours,
Right.
but Indians are taken for granted.
yes.
I don't know about other countries, I know China or all of them, but Indians are taken for granted because there are so many of us who are ready to work. There are one or the other who will just take it up and do it. They don't care about overtime, they don't care about the health. I think you should talk about the health part of it as well. How it's taking a toll on our health, and our average lifespan has kind of dropped because of sudden deaths in younger people
Yeah.
because of stress
Yeah.
related or whatever be it. But I think if the government intervenes here, it's the right time for them to intervene and take stand for their people, because the world doesn't treat us like I think they have seen us as slaves for a long period already, and we can't let them override on us over and over again, right? They can't just be like, Indians were always meant to slog, so let them slog. When we've adopted the Western culture, why not take the whole part?
Yeah.
Why not take the working hours as well? Why only their food? Why only their dietary habits? And then we face the brunt of the whole situation, like, okay, early let's, because you eat our food but you don't follow our culture, like the work culture, and overdoing things causes all of this. That's
So coming to the health part of it, so there is a survey conducted by WHO that on an average people working for more than 55 hours a week, they have an increased risk of 17% of heart diseases. And I think we can actually see that because there are so many, there is definitely an increase in heart disease because we just randomly see people having a heart attack due to stress or their dietary habits or just their lifestyle habits in general. And I think this whole increased work hours definitely has a contribution in that. So
especially more with the younger adults.
yeah, especially.
Than and the average life expectancy rate of ours has dropped. That's also there, yes.
Another thing is that when we have, when maybe there's a rule that comes in that it should be 5 days work and there's a limited time in which there's a clear boundary set between the work and their personal life. People will have more time, they'll have more disposable income, and they can go, spend in other experiences. That in that way, the money will keep rotating in the economy. People will just keep working and there's no time for them to actually spend. If there's a set boundary, people will travel more, people will go spend, people will get time with their family. So it kind of it'll help the country move, develop in not only the economic part but in happiness and in a much more holistic way is what I feel.
So we should go back to the days when weekends meant weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, now that technology has grown so much, there is ways in which people can keep you can keep doing your work even if you're not in your workplace.
Yes.
So that disconnect between your work and personal life is completely gone. You can easily merge it if you're not if you're not clear that I want to keep my work and my personal life separate, or
Yeah.
you can easily
Incorporate
in-
both of it into your
Yeah.
lives. Yes.
Yeah. So, what I'd like to say in conclusion is that in India, what happens is that we, first of all, we don't respect time. So, whoever comes first to the office and just maybe sits in their seat and then goes home last, maybe they are considered as more productive by their managers. So there's no respect for time, and whoever comes in on time and leaves on time, maybe does all their work, finishes everything, is very productive. They are not considered as someone who's really hardworking. So first of all, there needs to be respect for some time. So some ideal work hours per week must be set, like maybe 38 hours or something like that. 38 to 44 hours or something like that should be set, so that no one gets into that burnout state because of all many factors like no respect for time and gossips in the office, favoritism, and all of those things, and even including a lot of hours of work, people get into the burnout state. So in order to avoid that, what we can recommend is the Maslach's inventory. You can take the test. We'll actually include a link in the description as well. So maybe everyone can take that test and come to a conclusion whether they are burnt out of their job, or they are still okay with it, or maybe mediumly burnt out or something like that. They can get to know and make the relevant changes for their work life to maintain that work life balance.